So recently, this episode of Ahsoka aired that featured the return of Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. Now, I usually don't like doing videos just for an episode of a TV show. I usually wait to give my full thoughts on a show, or maybe if the show does several different arcs, I'll talk about each arc in general, kind of like what I did with The Flash Season 8, where I talked about the Armageddon arc, and then I talked about the rest of the season in a different video. I don't like to make a video on every single episode because honestly there's no point, because at the end of the season I'm going to just end up repeating myself regardless. So usually there's no point. But I felt compelled to make a video on this because of course this is just Disney dangling keys in front of fans, it's more pandering garbage that we've seen out of this company, and everybody's falling for it yet again. This happens every time. The season 2 finale of The Mandalorian featured the return of Luke Skywalker. It has Mark Hamill in a cameo at the end, so everybody gave this such huge rating. I think this had like a 9.9 out of 10 on IMDb, at least for a time. Yet the episode up until that point was trash. And then Book of Boba Fett, everybody freaked out when they saw Luke returning, and when Mando showed up. And the show was still garbage. And then, of course, we can't forget about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, where we have a flashback scene featuring Hayden Christensen, despite the fact that the flashback is just some of those generic stuff you've ever seen, and the rest of the episode, along with the rest of the show, is utter garbage. And then you get the scene where he slices out the mask and just rips off Rebels, but people still fell for it. And they fell for it here yet again. Now, I'm not going to talk about the rest of the show up to this point. I will say it's bad. It's really bad. It's boring. The plot is stupid. The action sequences are awful. The effects are terrible. And all of the acting is atrocious. And there are some talented actors in this show outside of the two villains, especially Ray Stevenson. He's pretty fun as the villain, and his sidekick, I guess you'd call her. I don't know the actress name, but they do fine. But Rosario Dawson is insanely boring as Ahsoka. I can see her, like, she has the right look for the part, especially with all the makeup and everything. And I could see her as an older Ahsoka, but she's boring. Her acting is stilted. And again, I've seen her do well in other stuff. Hell, just this year she did okay in Haunted Mansion. Why is she so bad in this show? Mary Elizabeth Winstead is not very good as Hera. The chick who plays Sabine is not very good. And pretty much every episode is just people standing around like this. Apparently, Dave Filoni thinks that standing there with your arms crossed like this makes you look badass, and it doesn't. And that continues throughout this episode, too, because this one was written and directed by Dave Filoni. I don't know if the other ones were, I don't remember, but it doesn't matter. So, this episode brings back Hayden Christensen as Anakin, and his acting still isn't great. Hayden Christensen seems like a really cool dude, but he's never struck me as that great an actor. I used to think it was just Lucas's directing and writing, and he's better when he's not under Lucas. Like, he was okay in his brief appearance in Obi-Wan, and he's okay here. But especially during the Clone Wars flashback, his acting still isn't great. Again, I have nothing but love for the actor of Hayden Christensen, especially from all the bullying he received for over a decade until people just decided he was good after the sequels came out. But he's still not a great actor. But give him credit, he's doing better than most of the people in this show, so there's that. And one thing I will say, the plot involving Hera and all the other New Republic twerps is not worth going into. It's boring. It's just them looking for Ahsoka for the majority of the time, and then they find the space whales that sent Ezra and Thrawn. God damn it, Flash. I watched too much of the fucking Flash, and every time I try to talk about Grand Admiral Thrawn, I end up calling him Thawne instead. Ugh. But they find the space whales that transported them to another universe, which I already said breaks George Lucas's one and only rule. I talked about that. And, and the lightsaber stab, and with absolutely no consequences to it. She's just totally fine. More clownery out of the Disney panhandle. But this episode got people, of course, tricked people into thinking it was good because it's got Anakin Skywalker. It's got him in the Clone Wars outfit, which we should have gotten in Obi-Wan. I don't know why they didn't bother with any Clone Wars flashbacks, but we've got him in the Clone Wars armor, and they even gave him the haircut from Season 1. We get young Ahsoka, played by Ariana Greenblatt, and all these flashbacks do is show me that if we were forced to get an Ahsoka show, I'd honestly rather have had one with Ariana Greenblatt. She's doing much better than Rosario Dawson is here. And fun fact, Ariana Greenblatt also played young Gamora in Avengers Infinity War. She's a legitimately really good young actress. And again, she does much better than Rosario Dawson does in this show, but again, it's just more of her, like, standing around like this and everything, and the worst thing about this episode, the reason why this episode is so bad, is that it feels pointless. Because it's all about this vision of Anakin teaching Ahsoka a lesson, like finishing her training. But what was the fucking lesson? I don't know. We flash back to her and Anakin on one of their first missions. I don't know what I'm supposed to learn from this, because she's bitching about how war is an issue. It's all this anti-war stuff, and Anakin trying to tell her that's not how the world works. And the way the world is now, you fight or you die, and he's absolutely right, but Ahsoka's too stubborn to realize that. Is that the point? Is trying to teach her to become a soldier? But no, it just doesn't work. And again, more jangling keys where you get a brief appearance of Captain Rex, and we briefly see part of the Siege of Mandalore, and I swear there was a clip that didn't have Ahsoka in it. It was just one shot of the Mandalorian, where I swear to God it was fully animated. I can't say for sure, but it sure as hell looked that way. And all of the backgrounds in this are fucking horrendous. Like the first flashback with Ahsoka and Anakin, it's all just haze and dust and smoke everywhere, and it's just more bad green screens, and especially the one with the Siege of Mandalore, they're just standing around talking. The green screens are terrible. The lightsabers look awful, especially in the flashbacks. They look like giant glow sticks. They don't look like lightsabers. And then they, of course, combine Anakin and Vader's vocals for one line. And when they flash between Anakin and Vader, because of course they do that, like it flashes to Vader, it's not even a good effect, because I can see the cuts in between them, and that's not how these are supposed to work. I don't understand how CGI and editing are so bad in these high-ass budget shows. I mean, hell, the CW does better with these effects. At least if they were to do like that kind of flashing effect, they'd at least be, I don't know, at least a little bit more convincing. But there's nothing here of substance. That's the issue. It's all just jangling keys. It's all pandering bullshit. And that's why I hate episodes like this so damn much. And that's why I felt compelled to talk about this one. It's not just because it's another bad episode of television. Yeah, another episode of a Disney Plus Star Wars show sucks. What else is new? I don't think there's been a single episode of a Disney Plus Star Wars show that I've legitimately liked, except for maybe the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars. Because Rebels, I like Rebels, doesn't count, wasn't Disney Plus. Maybe there was a couple episodes of Mandalorian, of the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian that were okay, maybe. None were good of Obi-Wan. Bad Batch had maybe a couple episodes that were decent. I liked the first episode of Bad Batch, I'll give it that. I still haven't seen season 2. I saw a couple episodes and I gave up. And no, I still have not watched Andor because I don't want to. So no, I haven't seen it. I've heard it's good. I really don't care. But especially when episodes like this where they bring in some of my favorite characters. I know a lot of people hate on Anakin Skywalker. I love the character of Anakin Skywalker, not just Darth Vader. I think the character of Anakin Skywalker is one of the most fascinating characters in all of fiction. How far he fell, and then he had just to get his redemption, just because of his son. His son was able to bring him back from the dark side. It's a very compelling story. That's why these movies were successful, and that's why the Disney why all the Disney schlock fails is because they don't have anything near as interesting as the story of Anakin Skywalker. Despite the movies making billions of dollars, no one gave a shit about the story of Rey because there was nothing interesting about it. The story of Anakin Skywalker is fascinating, and Disney's done nothing but whore this character out in an attempt to dangle keys in front of the audience to hopefully get some higher ratings. That's fucking despicable, and fuck Disney for it. So yeah, I guess the lightsaber duels were fine, but they weren't exactly very interesting. And again, the end it just kind of stops. The training bit of this just kind of ends, and I don't know what the lesson was supposed to be. I even looked it up, and it seems like nobody else does either. There have been a couple of theories, but none of them really make any sense. I don't This felt entirely pointless. This was just here to shove a recognizable character and a recognizable actor that you know into this show. And I hate it. I hate it so much. Can they, if you want to bring back Hayden Christensen, maybe give him, maybe a spin-off series. It seems like they actually did some de-aging this time, which is more than I can say for Obi-Wan Kenobi. But goddamn, if you want to bring Hayden Christensen back, I would say give him his own show, but they'd probably ruin that, so just leave the poor bastard alone. Quit ruining his character. So that's all I got, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.